couldn't believe what I was seeing. 1 minute, I'm out in the west pasture, watching the dust kick up as my cattle graze. The next, I'm staring at the flashing red and blue of a squad car at the end of my gravel driveway. A sheriff's deputy steps out, his face a perfect mask of professional detachment. But behind him, perched like a vulture on a sleek, black SUV, is none other than my neighbor, Barbara. Or as I've come to know her, the HOA's resident tyrant, Karen. What in the world did she want this time? My blood ran cold, a familiar dread coiling in my gut. This wasn't just another passive-aggressive note slipped under the fence. This was different. This was her pulling a nuclear option. "Sir, are you the owner of this property?" The deputy's voice cut through the afternoon hum, a stark contrast to the buzzing insects and the lowing of my cows. I just nodded, a weary sigh escaping my lips, already knowing this was going to be a long day. She had finally gone too far. Barbara's face was a study in smug triumph. She pointed a perfectly manicured finger at me, then at my land. "He's in violation of 3 separate covenants, deputy. The overgrown grass, the unsightly vehicles, and the smell of his animals. It's simply not acceptable." Her voice, a shrill, piercing thing, carried on the breeze, a jarring note in the quiet symphony of my ranch. The deputy glanced at a clipboard, then back at her, a hint of confusion in his eyes. He didn't quite get it. Neither did I. "Ma'am," I cut in, my voice low and steady. "I'm not in your HOA. My property is outside your jurisdiction. I've told you this a dozen times." Barbara's haughty laugh echoed across the field. "The papers say otherwise, Mr. Davies. We found the original land purchase agreement. Your parcel, while technically not on the main street, is still part of the original subdivision. The one the HOA was formed to protect." Wait, what? My heart thumped against my ribs. A cold, hollow beat. Could she be right? Could a centuries-old piece of paper really be my undoing? My wife, Clara, stepped forward, her hand finding mine, her grip tight. "You're mistaken, Barbara. The deed clearly states it's an independent parcel. We checked thoroughly." Barbara just sneered. "We have a lawyer on retainer who says otherwise, and he says this is a criminal matter. Noise and pollution, deputy. A nuisance." The word criminal hung in the air, a poisonous, barbed hook. The deputy shifted, uncomfortable. "I'm not sure this is a police matter, ma'am. It sounds like a civil dispute." But Barbara wouldn't relent. "A public health hazard. He's attracting flies. It's an eyesore. Arrest him!" she shrieked, her face a blotchy red, her composure finally cracking. I felt a laugh bubble up in my chest. Arrest me? On my own land? For owning a ranch? The absurdity of it was almost comical, but the underlying threat was all too real. Then, a glint of metal caught my eye. A drone. High above, almost invisible against the brilliant blue sky. It hovered, its little rotors a nearly silent hum. My wife caught my gaze. Her eyes, usually so warm, were steel. She nodded once. A silent agreement passed between us. The twist, the ace up our sleeve. Clara calmly reached into her pocket and pulled out her phone. "Deputy," she said, her voice surprisingly calm. "Before this goes any further, I'd like to show you something." She held up the screen. It was a video, and the footage was devastating. It showed Barbara, 2 days ago, walking along my property line, a small, dark object in her hand. She stooped down, her posture tense and secretive, and meticulously, carefully, cut a section of my fence wire. The sound was faint but audible. Snip, snip. The very fence my cattle had broken through this morning. The fence she was now claiming was a violation. The herd had wandered out, a few stray cows crossing into the public road. It was a minor inconvenience, but in her twisted logic, it was an actionable offense. And then the video showed her, walking away, with that same smug smile on her face. The deputy's eyes widened. He looked from the phone to Barbara, his face now a storm of conflicting emotions. Barbara went pale. Her mouth opened, a silent, gaping maw. That's not what it looks like," she stammered, her voice a hollow whisper. It's doctored. Clara just shook her head, a grim, sad expression on her face. It's not. I've been documenting your little games for months now, Barbara. Every time you've mowed a path through my property, every time you've called the county. My husband just wants to live in peace. The confrontation intensified, the air thick with tension. The deputy cleared his throat, his posture straightening. Ma'am, he said, turning to Barbara, his tone now cold and official. What you've done here is called trespassing and destruction of private property. That's a criminal offense. A felony, actually, given the value of livestock. And filing a false police report. Well, that's not good either. Barbara's face crumbled. The arrogance was gone, replaced by a desperate, panicked fear. No, you can't. I'm the head of the HOA. This is his fault. He provoked me, she screeched, her voice breaking on the last word. I stepped forward, my voice a low growl. Provoked you? By existing on my own land? I've been nothing but polite, Barbara. You're the one who started this. You're the one who broke the law. Clara added, her voice a calm, logical counterpoint. We've also been in contact with our lawyer. We have evidence of countless harassment attempts over the last year. Calls, emails, threats. We've been building a case. We've tried to be patient. We've tried to be neighbors. But you've left us with no choice. The deputy's phone rang. He answered it, his back to us, but we could hear snippets. Yeah, Deputy Roberts here. No, it's not a nuisance. It's a civil dispute that just turned into a criminal investigation. No. A felony, yeah. The HOA lady. The words hit Barbara like a physical blow. She sank down onto her SUV's running board, her head in her hands, a defeated moan escaping her lips. This was it. The culmination of months of petty vindictiveness, of her trying to impose her will on a man who just wanted to be left alone to work his land. She thought she was untouchable, protected by the thin veneer of a homeowners association and her own self-importance. But she wasn't. The law, it turned out, applied to her too. The deputy hung up, looking at her with a mix of pity and professional distaste. Ma'am, I'm going to need you to come down to the station with me. We have a few questions for you. The air grew quiet again. The only sound the low hum of the police car's idling engine and the distant moo of my cows. The once bright afternoon sun seemed to dim, casting long, mournful shadows. Barbara was a shell of her former self. The defiant arrogance had completely vanished, replaced by a profound, shaking fear. The very authority she had tried to weaponize was now turned against her. I watched as the deputy helped her up, his movements firm but gentle. She shot me one last, venomous look, but it was a look of a cornered animal, not a predator. It was over. She had lost. I hadn't wanted this. I had just wanted to be left alone. But some people you have to stand up to. You have to fight for what's yours. As the police car slowly drove away, its lights no longer flashing, a profound sense of relief washed over me. Not triumph, not glee, just relief. It was a victory, but a bitter one. I looked at Clara, and she looked at me, a soft, weary smile on her face. We were still standing. We were still on our land. And that, in the end, was all that mattered. I knew the legal battle was just beginning. There would be lawsuits, court dates, and more headaches. But for the first time in a long time, I wasn't afraid. I had the truth on my side. And I had Clara. She was my rock, my secret weapon. In the end, it's about more than land, isn't it? It's about a person's right to live their life without harassment. It's about what you're willing to fight for. It's about not letting a bully, no matter how powerful they seem, dictate your existence. I've always been a quiet man, content to live off the land, to let my work speak for itself. But this taught me a valuable lesson. Sometimes you have to raise your voice. Sometimes you have to push back. I'm not in the HOA and I'm not sorry. Their legal threats turned out to be a hollow bluff. And now, they're the ones facing legal trouble. The community, once silent, is now talking. People are realizing that one person's agenda doesn't have to ruin everyone else's peace. My case against Barbara and the HOA will serve as a lesson, a testament to standing up for what's right. My ranch may be my home, but my principles are my foundation. It's a foundation that can't be shaken by a petty tyrant with a clipboard and a bad attitude. Looking at my cows, my wife, and my home, a sense of deep, abiding peace settled in my soul. I wouldn't trade this life for anything. What do you think? Was this the right thing to do? To what extent should we stand up for ourselves against unreasonable authority?